Cost of electricity. This comes after a disappointing December when reduction of electricity cost as promised by the president failed to reflect in the December bill. The mounting pressure on the cost of living on Kenyans was epitomized in 2021, with many decrying the high cost of energy.
We are all concerned, and most of all, His Excellency, our President, is very concerned about the cost of power. Our bills are too high,
prompting the government to intervene by implementing the Presidential Task Force report on reducing the cost of power.
There is a range of recommendations. Some are short-term, medium-term and long-term. But the most pressing one that we are focusing our attention on are twofold. First, to work towards reducing the tariff by, and you had this during Mashujaa Day, by 33% on the eve of Christmas. So this is going to be the Christmas gift to the Kenyans.
On Jamhuri Day, the president assured Kenyans that by end of December 2021, their bills will be much lower.
The reduction of the cost of electricity will be implemented in two tranches of 15% each, with the first 15% achieved through initial actions focusing on system and commercial losses, and this will be reflected in people's bills in December of this year.
The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority has finally gazetted the reduction in power bills to be implemented by Kenya Power through amendments to the Energy Act, taking effect from 1st of January 2022 to December 2022. For domestic consumers metered by the company at 240 or 415 volts, whose consumption does not exceed 100 units per postpaid billing or prepaid units purchase period, will be charged 7 shillings and 70 cents per unit, a reduction from 10 shillings and 10 cents. Adding levies, these Kenyans will part with 18 shillings and 31 cents per unit. Those metered by the company are 240 or 415 volts and whose consumption is greater than 100 units but does not exceed 15,000 units per postpaid billing or prepaid units purchase period will pay 12 shillings and 60 cents per unit, a reduction from 15 shillings and 80 cents initially. In the commercial space, non-domestic small commercial consumers metered by the company at 240 or 415 volts and whose consumption is greater than 100 units but does not exceed 15,000 units per postpaid billing will part with 7 shillings and 70 cents per unit. For commercial and industrial consumers whose consumption exceeds 15,000 units per postpaid billing period will be charged 12 shillings and 40 cents per unit consumed. EPRA also reduced the impact that value-added tax has on power bills. In the new tariff, VAT will be charged on 3 components of the power bill: the energy cost, fuel cost, and demand charge. Right, now the big question remains, how will this impact the electricity bill budget on household level? Take a look.
For the past year, we have been on the post-pay payment plan, and our average bill has been about 1,000 to 1,500 thereabout. Personally, I find it is a favorable price. I mean, with everyone else, I could do with it being a bit lower, but when I compare it to the token system that we were previously on in a different part of Nairobi, the token system was slightly higher per month, and so this comes. Using the post-pay is slightly a money saver for us.
For my household, I spend like 1,000 shillings on electricity. So if you translate that to annual cost, that will be like 12,000. But in some months, I'll pay 1,500. There's a cost saving to it. Ideally, if, let's say I'm using 1,000 shillings in a month to buy tokens. And those tokens translate to around 54 units in a month. So let's say in the month of December, I used 54 units. If I'm going to buy using the same amount of cash, or rather spend 1,000 shillings for January, then I'm getting around 62 units. So 62 from 54, I'm getting an extra 8 units. So a rough estimate that translates to 4 extra days of, power. So if I was, spending 54 units in 30 days, I now spend 4 extra days with the 62 units. So my month ideally has, like, let's say 34 days as compared to last year. If you translate that to the amount of shillings I'm saving, that's roughly 135 to 240 shillings in a month. So I'm saving, close to 200 shillings in a month if the cost is translated to in terms of cash basis. So definitely there's a cost implication and a cost savings to it. The 150 shillings or 200 shillings, I can use that for something else, probably buy, travel, or, buy myself something from KFC, soda in that month, or, just buy myself a shirt, or, some pair of socks. So definitely there's that aspect of growth and cost savings, or even, increase my monthly gym subscription or whatever. So, yeah.
All right. Edwin Mutoro, they are saying you can buy something from KFC. Let me remind you, when you get there, most probably you won't find fries, but maybe you'll get something else. Now, let's scale this higher. Power is a critical component of the manufacturing sector. For the longest time, the Kenya Association of Manufacturers has decried the unfavorable conditions locally in making business easy. With last week's gazettement on power tariff changes, will it have an impact on the cost of manufacturing? Well, earlier on, I had a chat with Sylvester Makaka, Senior Energy Advisor at the Kenya Association of Manufacturers. I started by asking him how the sector interprets this change in tariffs.
The government has shown commitment to bring down the cost of energy, and specifically electricity cost in Kenya. And two is that that reduction commitment from government is that it is cutting across whether you are domestic and commercial or industrial. And that's a good gesture. And they have gone further to put this into a legal document. That means it's now anchored in law, because they have revised the tariff structure 2018 with a new rate now that will be applicable going forward until it's reviewed otherwise. So we are happy as manufacturers that that is now taking root, and it has moved now from political pronouncement, from a task force announcement, into action. And that is very positive, is very well welcomed with manufacturing, and we look forward to seeing it reflected in the bills come January 2022. Having said that, we've seen that generally the prices that were announced and gazetted on 7th of January 2022 are touching on one key component of the bills, and that is the basic energy or consumption cost. This consumption cost definitely is not everything around the electricity cost. The consumption cost component is only around 50%, 52% of the energy cost put all together. And that means that we have other elements that will remain not covered under the Gazette notice, and that is our fuel cost, of course, component that goes into our electricity bills every month. And that is still not controlled per se, because it depends on very many factors, and the variables are global price movement and, of course, our local consumption. So from manufacturing point of view, yes, it's a positive move. We welcome it, and we are happy that the government has put that commitment to action, and it will bear fruit.
Talking about the impact of power, or the element of power in the final product, that is the overall cost of production. Maybe draw a comparison for us between the previous system that we had for the final product, how much
of a power component were we seeing? And with these reforms, how does it translate to the cost of final product?
That's a good question, because I'll address myself to two components. One is that what is the cost of electricity contributing to the final cost or to the final cost of production? That really depends on industry to industry. We may not conclusively say that it is one size fits all. There are industries that the electricity component is a small percentage of the input cost, and there are industries that electricity cost is a very large component. And for the large manufacturers, I know it ranges from anywhere around 5% to 35%. So you can see the range of impact on production cost. But in a nutshell, the change in electricity cost for manufacturing industries will range from 14% to 18%, depending on the tariff you are on. Of course, those on the commercial industry one, if you know the tariff structure, it has all commercial industry category 1 up to commercial industry category 5. And that means that if you are in category 1, commercial industry category 1, the effect may be 14%. And when you are in commercial industry category 5, the effect may be 18%. But this depends on your consumption level. Of course, if you consume less, then it doesn't translate to the same percentage if you consume less. So I think my urge to industry would be that they need to consume more, even that now we have a lower tariff, and so they need to consume more so that their average cost of power consumption per unit falls within that range that has been announced. If they don't do that, then it won't make this making sense. But then there is also another leeway for consumption in what we popularly call as off-peak. There is an off-peak tariff, time of use tariff, that then brings this cost even lower when you consume during the off-peak hours, which again adds an advantage to manufacturers, that they can easily plan their production and produce more or consume more during the off-peak hours. That is still provided for in the new Gazette notice, and that is positive that it has been retained. So we are happy. But when it comes to the translation to consumer prices, that will vary from industry product to product. And we may not at this point in time say it will have this impact on cost of consumer. But yes, we expect that there will be some adjustments to reflect the new advantages that industry will enjoy from the cost of electricity.
All right, that is the impact of the recently gazetted tariffs on the manufacturing sector and earlier on the household level. Let's head to matters agriculture. Hans avocado is popular among farmers in Mount Kenya due to the variety's high demand in the international market. Because of its high price tag, locals have been left to consume other varieties such as Fuerte, Kate and Pinkerton. Moiga William with this report.